Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of the Atheist Reformation live on our Sunday service. Joining me once again is my co-host Harry. How are you doing, Harry?
I'm stoked. I'm excited.
Especially given what we're planning on doing today. This is going to be a ton of fun. Something that we've been
Really?
talking about for the past couple of weeks now and is now kind of coming to fruition for us. And what it is with March Madness coming up for all you basketball fans, we decided, which we care nothing about at all. I don't care about sports at all.
It's not going to stop us from tagging this video as March Madness, though, just to get the clicks.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a clickbaity type person. I mean, I'll make snarky titles and all that, but aside from that, I really don't do clickbait. Uh,
Well, misleading people for my own self-interest is not beyond me. Wait a minute.
Hey, I thought I'm supposed to be the atheist on this channel. I'm supposed to be the completely immoral, lost, damaged soul. But apparently that's not the case here. Though I am still an atheist. That hasn't changed at all. You should see the look on your face once I said that. There we go.
What? I won.
Yeah, no. You don't even get a cookie. I'm sorry. But no, today we are utilizing an aspect of March Madness as a jumping off point for us today. Harry and I both like music a lot, and if you don't like music, why? Leave a comment down below if you don't like music, because you're gonna hear some today.
If you have like Meniere's disease or something like that, that's different.
Right. I mean, like, if you're just a person who suffering from no medical ill effect of any kind, just flat out don't like music at all, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear the story behind this. Like for real. No joke. I want to know. Because I could not have gotten through a lot of times in my life without music. Just flat out couldn't have. So today we're doing a little bit of a shootout between secular music and Christian music. And we want you all to come along for the ride. So I'm going to share this screen here. Hopefully everyone can see it. And
that's big.
Oh wow, yeah, that. I know what the issue is. Fixed it. All right, so this is our version of March Madness. As you can see, we're going to. We've got. Let's zoom in on this. Okay. So we're shooting out against a few different genres here. We've got our metal genres, our counterculture genres, our specialty genres, and our mainstream genres. So where would you like to start, Harry, on this little debate of ours today?
Oh, I wish we had like a viewer right now that could just speak up and tell us. Do we?
Unfortunately not right now.
What
Trust me, I wish. I really, really wish.
Do you have a D4?
A D4. I do, but I don't know if I have one near my desk right this second. Oh well, go to Google for a dice roller.
When in doubt about human behavior, always
roll a dice.
Always roll a dice and do Dungeons and Dragons as a social engineering like.
Right.
Have you ever done that?
once or twice. So in rolling the D4, got a 4. So it looks like we're starting in, I guess, the specialty genres. If we're
Okay.
going the standard quadrant method, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, all right. So now I wish we would have a bunch of viewers on here. That way we could have it where, son of a bitch.
You know, it'd be funny if like a lot of people got really angry about something and we like revisited this and just kind of like not spend a whole episode, but maybe like 2 or 3 minutes updating and just like, okay, well, we're gonna flip our decision on this just because enough people have said something.
I
And then
mean,
like
yeah, we could definitely do that, and
get your
that'd be pretty cool.
before the end of March, you have a say.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean, I think that would be pretty cool in all honesty, now that you think about it. So, in looking at those genres listed there, what do you think we should start with?
Let's start with gimmick, just to kind of like start it off something silly, and people aren't really going to know what gimmick is, so it's a good introduction tutorial.
Okay. So, for us, a gimmick band, as you can see here, this is a band that has some kind of particular shtick. You know, like how Weird Al Yankovic does parodies, but because parody is a whole genre unto itself, I didn't want to use that as my gimmick. So, Harry, you go ahead and explain yours. We're going to give the Christian showcase a little bit, and then I'll explain mine.
All right, so I went with the band Shockwave, which is a hardcore punk band that is made up of members of a few other bands, and their whole thing is that the band is literally Decepticons from the children's animated show Transformers, and
Okay.
all of the songs are discussing uh, militant Decepticon victory over humanity.
Okay, and they're a Christian band?
Yes. It's the members of the band are comprised of some other Christian hardcore bands, and it's kind of like just a fun way to have a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, self-aware humor. You know, like when you can take things too far and being like militantly for your views.
Okay.
It's a self-awareness thing, but it's really just an excuse to like let out some aggression in a non angry way and just be silly at the same time. Like it's good heavy music for when you're feeling angry, and instead of being like, oh, I want to, disembowel or kill someone, it's more like I want to go shoot Optimus Prime in the face with a laser beam.
Okay. Yeah, and going through and looking at how they describe the band lineup and whatnot, uh, they do all adopt character names from Transformers, such as their two vocalists would go by Callahan and Biff Justice. Their guitarists were Scrap Iron, Tomax, and then you had bass was Donald Super and drums were Firefly. And then their previous guitarist, Neil Hartman, went by Timmy Warbucks. So their main studio albums, their last one released in 2004, but they started in 1997. So their first album in 99 is Dominicon, then Auto Hate, then a live album called Live in Poland in 2001, and then finally The Ultimate Doom in 2004. And so, yeah, focused on the cartoon series of the Transformers. So mine, on the other hand, is a band called Oakley Dokley. For those of you who are fans of The Simpsons, may be aware of this, but Oakley Dokley is the patent phrase of Ned Flanders. And I understand many people may have some reticence about where this is going. A Ned Flanders themed band. This is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be goofy. And to some degree it is. However, it completely flips things on its head, just like with Ned Flanders, because everybody looks at Ned Flanders, oh, he's just this soft dude that's kind of, you know, lives with his family and this, that, and the other. He must not do a whole lot. And then you see him take his shirt off and he's like ripped from head to toe. So something that's, and to me, that's an important part of the gimmick being Ned Flanders oriented, is that not that they have to be in really good shape, but there has to be something about them that is completely unexpected when you just look at them for face value. And so to me, Oakley Dokley very much nails that. So I'm going to pull up a picture of the band. And if you had wanted me to, I would have pulled up at least the band logo for Shockwave, because it's actually kind of cool looking.
I just think that the images of them on stage with like their faces covered in like respirator masks and bandanas is absolutely hilarious, because they look like straight up anarchists.
They really rather do.
They look like they're about to go rob a liquor store or something.
Right. All right, so let's see. I'm going to end the sharing for this just for a moment and share a different screen. So this is Oakley Dokley. Relatively unassuming. They just look like a bunch of dudes dressed like Ned Flanders. With the
Looks
exception,
like a barbershop.
Right. Looks like a barbershop quartet. They're a metal band. And White Wine Spritzer is a pretty good example of it. However, there's another even more messed up one, because they actually don't have any particular genre that they adhere to. It's just everything is Ned Flanders oriented in the songs and whatnot. And so they have another one where their vocalist does like all these low, like hardcore guttural growls the entire song, instead of the high pitched screams like you hear in White Wine Spritzer. And the song is called Re-Education.
Aren't they all like quotes from Ned Flanders?
Yes. Yes, they are. And I love the whole thing right here. Oakley Dokley wants to pulverize your skull with sound, neighborino. Right over there. It's a beautiful thing, really. I love it.
There actually was an episode where like Ned goes a little off the deep end because of the hurricane. And I can just see that, like, just add music to it, and that is basically a metal song. When he's just going out.
Yeah. So we haven't really defined any criteria for how one band would win over another. So, and this was done purposefully so that we would have to go and kind of develop this as we went, as a little bit of a free-form debate. Personally, yes, I love Transformers. It's amazing. However, what I will say is that it's not really a Christian gimmick band. It is a gimmick band comprised of members of Christian bands.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw one at you, which is an Oakley Dokley is not really an atheist gimmick band, because their gimmick is that they're modeling their music after the most well-known Christian in The Simpsons.
But they're mocking it. They're parodizing his views.
Are
So,
they?
and yes, they are. So also, it's secular, not atheist.
Oh, okay. Secular. Okay. Well,
And we did that because there are
there are religious people that perform as secular artists.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that do not allow their religion to inform their music, just like there are religious people in science that do not allow their religion to inform how they do science.
And then there's also religious people that perform religious music of religions other than their own,
I know that's kind of weird.
like Kenny G's Christmas album.
No. Too soon, man. Too soon.
Is it too soon?
I don't
How would
know.
it be soon?
I don't know.
Something happened to Kenny G I'm not aware of?
No, nothing happened to Kenny G that I'm aware of other than the fact that he's still alive. I'm sorry.
Well,
No,
sorry.
good. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, good saxophone music died with Jerry Rafferty. I mean, come on, Baker Street.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like, is Kenny G like claiming to be good saxophone? I thought he played like a what is it?
That's a soprano saxophone.
It's a
It's ba-
soprano.
it's a soprano saxophone. Yes, basically,
Oh,
it's a metal oboe.
he doesn't sound very metal.
It's an oboe that is made from metal.
Can you like actually make a metal oboe though, like an oboe made out of the essence of metal?
That's why it's called a soprano saxophone,
Okay.
because oboe is something that is made out of wood from for mostly start to finish. The main body of it is made from wood, whereas saxophones, the main bodies of them are made from brass usually. And so what they did was they made a brass oboe. It's still, and the soprano sax is still a double reed instrument, just like an oboe. There's virtually no difference other than what the main body of the instrument is made from.
Did Rafferty play a soprano sax or an alto?
No, Jerry Rafferty played a alto sax.
Okay, so then we can narrow Kenny G to just being soprano sax.
And just ignore him entirely from here on out. Sounds like a winner. Okay? Okay.
Oakley.
So, I mean, obviously, I think my band should win because I wouldn't have picked that band if I didn't think they should win. And you think yours should win for very much the same reason. So, one additional thing I will say beyond that is Oakley Dokley are still active. Like, they still make music, even today.
That is true. They are still active.
And it's not like, and I mean, like, that may become a bone of contention when we get into things like classic metal, but there's a difference between stopping making music because you stop making music and stopping making music because you died.
Yeah.
And so Shockwave hasn't been active in over a decade now, whereas Oakley Dokley still very much is.
How many albums does Oakley Dokley have? Because it looks like Shockwave basically has what, 3 albums and a live album?
Yeah, 3 albums and a live album. Let me see if I can find. Okay, so one thing that I will say that is actually pretty cool is I've never looked up Oakley Dokley in Wikipedia ever,
Mm-hmm.
but when I start typing in the name Oakley Dokley, it's the first result that pops up in the "Are you looking for this?" type section. Versus when I look for Shockwave, it's not even in the first 15.
Well,
So I mean, like that has something to do with it too. They have 2 albums as of right now. Howdily Doodly that came out on November 11th, 2016, and then on March 29th, 2019, they released Howdily Toodly, and they have 4 main singles that people are aware of, and that's White Wine Spritzer, Reen Education, Bulletproof Glass, and then Slaughterhouse, which is relatively new. It just came out this year.
I'm docking them points for their creativity in naming their albums.
No, it's very much a gimmick. So to me, it kind of makes sense.
But at what point did Ned Flanders ever say "howdily toodly"?
Let's see.
They
Hang
gimmick,
on.
man.
Well, not everything has to. It has to be Ned Flanders oriented. It doesn't have to be something that Ned Flanders said.
Oh, okay. I thought like all their songs are basically straight rips of his
No,
line.
no, 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 no. I mean, they do tend to incorporate things that the character has said into the songs, usually.
Mhm.
And also it kind of makes sense to say howdily toodly because it's their second studio album.
Yeah.
And I think they already have a song called Hi Diddly Ho, so I think they didn't want to use that as a name for an album if they weren't just, going to uh make that a title track for an album.
Yeah.
Also, I will say that on April 7th, 2019, the band appeared during the end credits of the Simpsons episode I'm Just a Girl Who Can't Say Dough. So that's also something that I think is is heavily in their favor as far as that goes. I mean, did Shockwave ever appear in any of the Transformer stuff?
I don't think so.
Well,
I mean,
let's take a look at let's take a look. We'll do some Google foo here and see if we can find something.
art imitating life, imitating art.
Yeah. And it looks like no.
No. Do any of the people that work for Transformers even know that Shockwave exists?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, I'm willing to let album sales decide this since we have kind of
I'm sure you're willing to let album sales decide that.
I'm I'm pretty sure that Oakley
I'm
Doakley album sales
I don't
because
I don't
more people.
know. Well, the thing is, Oakley Doakley only has 2 studio albums released. They've only been active for a few years, whereas Shockwave got started in '97 and ran for over a decade. So just like, if I was putting, say, like in
All
the
right,
worship section, if I was putting Ghost up against Mercy Me, album sales is very much heavily sided in favor of Mercy Me because they've been making music for a lot longer. And so that's why I don't like using metrics like that. This is an entirely subjective debate, as is everything religious for the most part.
but I'm willing to let you win based off album sales. But if Shockwave has more album sales, I won't necessarily call that a win for me.
Okay.
But if Oakley Doakley has more album sales per any one album, not overall.
Okay. So I don't know if there's actually any information released on that.
Because if we were doing like YouTube hits on a video, I'm pretty sure Shockwave would crush.
I don't know.
Or you could do that. Who has more hits? Subscribers, I'm pretty sure it's going to be
Oakley Doakley. Yeah.
I don't even know if Shockwave has an official like band page on YouTube.
Well, looking at Oakley Doakley, they've got 22 videos and 72,500 subscribers. And White Wine Spritzer came out 3 years ago, has over 6 million views. Education, the video came out about a year ago. That one has almost 750,000.
All right. What do we got for Shockwave on YouTube? We can use their page. Well, might go back to MySpace.
Okay, so Shockwave does not have an official YouTube channel from what I can find. But the highest viewed that I can find is Shockwave Intro to Oblivion and the Ultimate Doom.
Mm-hmm.
So this is off their most recent album, off of a YouTube channel called King Smitty. It was posted 9 years ago, and it has 29,000 views.
Okay, so as much as I love them, and I think,
and I honestly can't find album sales information on either band. That's another one of the reasons why I wanted to stay away from it, is because especially on the Christian side of things, if they don't hit pretty massive mainstream success, it's almost impossible to find a lot of these numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to let Oakley Dokley win this one, but I do think very different genres of music, and
yeah, gimmick is rather broad. I mean, like, and I wanted this to actually have like a discussion part of it. Otherwise, I just could have just put Weird Al Yankovic. Bah, done.
I think,
but I also want to give. I also want people to know about Oakley Dokley, because Oakley Dokley is awesome.
Yeah, and I think I put a lot of bands in here too that I just want to have exposure.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing, is that's what we want to happen.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So if you're looking for like something just really heavy and hard that you can listen to around kids and, like, family time, and we're just gonna like rage out, I think Shockwave's a really good option for them, because it's so goofy and cartoony if you actually pay attention to the lyrics, but it still has that same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in terms of like probably current cultural impact and like what people are going to connect with more, I think that Oakley Dokley is probably like a better representation of current gimmick. They're still playing music. I think they reach more people. I think more people kind of are into that. It has a stronger connection with them.
Okay. And I tend to agree. I mean, like, Shockwave sounds cool. I know I've never heard of them before this discussion, and so I will definitely be making an effort to incorporate them into what I listen to on a day-to-day basis, because I love Transformers, and that sounds pretty awesome. So, so I at least want to hear some of what they got,
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the song. Other than the ones you've already recommended or discussed, Bruticus, because that's
okay,
so fast and so hard.
Okay, all right.
It's like, it sounds like ancient Romans rowing a ship. Like, that's the boom.
Oh wow, that actually sounds pretty awesome, in all honesty. All right, so Shockwave got the strike through, and Oakley Dokley moves on. So, who are we going after next? What genre?
Let's go for what's the one right above it?
That'd be classical.
Let's save classical for a little bit later.
Okay. I definitely want to do Worship last, just because it's such an out there thing, and we really have to preface a couple of things with that one, I'm sure, especially given the name of one of the bands.
Yes.
It's not something that people are accustomed to seeing classified in that fashion.
So that leaves one other option for now.
Yeah, so I guess we're going with Dude and Piano. I really didn't have a better name for this, so that's kind of just what we went with.
Okay.
And this one, I think we're probably going to end up having to listen to a little bit of music for them and see where we stand. So it's Michael W. Smith going up against Tim Minchin. And personally,
I'm
I've never heard of Michael W. Smith. Now that doesn't mean anything because I also had never heard of Shockwave.
I've heard of Tim Minchin, but I did not think of him as a musical artist. I thought of him as a comedian.
He is a comedian, but all of his comedy is musically derived. He does not just do stand up.
Okay.
And he writes songs specifically to go with the piano, and they're all secular, but not all of them are like attacking religion or anything like that. Um, One of my personal favorites, and to me this really showcases him as an artist, is Rock and Roll Nerd.
Okay.
And so if we were to go to a single shootout or a track shootout, that's probably what I would pick is Rock and Roll Nerd. So
Okay.
make your case for Michael W. Smith. I'm going to go ahead and look him up on Wikipedia and probably Google and see what all we have.
So when we're talking about like Christian music in the '90s, which I think is whenever, Christian music kind of really came into its own thing, which you might say that that's whenever it became like corporate or capitalized. Like that's whenever it kind of became its own industry, aside
Mm-hmm.
from other, like there were actual Christian music companies that were promoting bands and making their own culture, which is a really cool thing in some ways, and it's also kind of like terrible in other ways. He was really at the forefront of someone that was writing like these pop songs that really caught on. It was like him and Stephen Curtis Chapman were like really leading the way of these are good songs that people can listen to and not just feel like they're, you know, terrible sanitized versions of like secular music.
Of pop songs, yeah.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, the Thinking Atheist channel on YouTube, run by Seth Andrews, did a fantastic job um, with a rather acerbic titled video called "Christianity Always Steals the Best Ideas," and his entire thing was going through music. And
Yeah.
I don't know if one particular band got brought up, but if they didn't, they should have been, and that's Switchfoot.
See, we've talked briefly about them before, and I
Hmm.
will not defend any of Switchfoot's like last two or three albums
Oh
or
no,
any.
I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying like to me that's a decent example of what's essentially musical plagiarism. They don't have an original idea, so they take someone else's and call it their own. I mean, okay, if they wrote different lyrics, that's kind of one thing. And we've had court battles over stuff like this, like with Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice versus Under Pressure by Queen,
Yeah.
where all he did was he added a single note to the rhythm.
No, well, technically
And
he
so it altered the rhythm the
made
tiniest bit.
a
Yeah.
like a.
Yeah. Like I said, he added a note to the rhythm.
It wasn't even like it was like here's the rhythm, here's the melody of the
Yeah.
bass, so bass line of doom 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 doom, and mine is doom 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 doom.
Yeah. I mean, but apparently that was enough of a difference combined with the complete shift in lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not going to say that Switchfoot has broken the law or violated copyright or anything like that. What I will say is they have done something, they have done some things that are unethical and what the majority of people would look at as like, wait, that's someone else's work. Why are you saying that's yours?
Well, I like their first couple of albums. There's some good songs on there that I will listen to, but
I think the only song that ever got them any kind of mainstream success was "Meant to Live."
And the stuff I like is, I think, before that.
Yeah. So, anyways, continuing on with a discussion about the actual genre we're talking about, Michael W. Smith versus Tim Minchin. So, I mean, if we're going the mocking route, as of March 2019, Michael Smith looks like dollar store Michael Bolton.
I'm so mad that you said that, because I'm pretty sure people described him as that when he first came out anyway.
He's about the same age as Mike Bolton too. That's funny. All right, so it looks like he's still active today. So there's that. We've got that going for us. For him anyway.
Playing.
Say what?
I said most Christian artists never stop playing. They just go from playing arenas that are sold out, playing revivals.
Yeah, and he's released quite a few albums. Let's see. 1, 2. So there's 22 total albums, but to me, I'm actually going to discount 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, because all 4 of those are Christmas albums.
He has 4 different Christmas albums.
Christmas in '89, Christmas Time, all one word, in '98. It's a Wonderful Christmas in 2007, and The Spirit of Christmas in 2014. He has released 4 separate Christmas albums.
I dislike how the time between them decreases each time.
Yeah, like first it was 9 years, then it was 9 years again, and then it's 7 years. Yeah. And then I would also argue that we should also kind of discount his 2 hymn albums, Hymns and Hymns 2, Shine on Us. There's only 2 years between the 2 of them, and they're both like just hymns.
Maybe we should include those as one album.
Maybe. So we lump all the Christmas crap into one, as one, and the hymns as one. So that's 2 albums essentially. And so he's got 20 albums out.
Okay.
And so I mean, it's not bad. I mean, he's got a large body of work. But he also puts out content really, really quickly. And so to me, when an artist puts out a crap ton of music in a very short time, that tends to speak to a lack of quality. Now, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes that's not the case. But a lot of times it is. So his first album, the Michael W. Smith Project, comes out in '83. And then he makes Michael W. Smith 2 in '84, and then another in '86, then '88, and then his first Christmas album in '89. There's basically the biggest gap between albums that I can find is between Freedom and Healing Rain. There is a 4-year gap from 2000 to 2004. Everything else is 2 years or less, except for a couple of different ones where there's a 3-year gap. And his most recent album is A Million Lights, which came out in 2018. He has also gone on to duet and have several concert tours with Amy Grant. So for those who want to argue about potentially his mainstream success, Amy Grant is a pretty big Christian contemporary artist, and he does several concert tours with her. As far as that goes, he's achieved mainstream success, at least in the Christian contemporary community. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So I mean, I will happily grant that. That's fine. He's also written a few things. and it just looks like mostly Zondervan publishing or motivational crap. I mean, like, no, seriously, it's like Old Enough to Know came out in '87. The Power of an Ordinary Prayer from Worthy Publishing in 2013. A Simple Blessing from Zondervan 2011. It's just motivational junk.
Yeah.
And so
It's
to me,
it's stuff.
that's just fluff, and I give less than half a shit about that. I don't even give half a shit about it. So I'm just going to focus entirely on music. Has he achieved success? Yes. I absolutely will grant that. But I don't know. I don't know that he is a better artist than, say, Tim Minchin. Now, Tim Minchin has released a few different albums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 8 albums. Well, the 8th album. No. It was released in 2019. On Wikipedia, it still says yet to be released, but I do believe that actually dropped in like November or December of 2019. So they just haven't updated this yet.
How much of them are musical and how much of them are stand up?
They're actually all musical, with the exception of like, okay, so there's a couple of live ones, like Live at the O2, and then So Fucking Rock, which is adapted from the 2008 DVD So Fucking Rock Live. But Sit with band Timmy the Dog in 2001, Dark Side 2005, So Rock in 06, Ready for This in 09, 2011 Tim Minchin and the Heritage Orchestra, and then back in 2019.
So
and he actually has legitimate released singles such as Drowned, White Wine in the Sun, The Pope Song, The Fence, and Come Home Cardinal Pell.
So I'm not 100% familiar with his stuff, but when we say like he's a comedian, are we saying that he's like Cat Williams, where like honestly,
no, he to me, to me, he is like moderately angry Weird Al Yankovic, but instead of an accordion, he's got a piano.
I mean, not in terms of style, but what I meant is like when we have 3 or 4 different live albums, how much shared content is between them?
Oh, for him, not much. He tends to write essentially an entire new set of songs for each new show that he does. Now, he will usually he's got one song that I think started in like 2007 that has been part of every single one of his albums since then. But that's because he is constantly changing things within that song and turning it into something different. So it's more like this is supposed to be kind of his magnum opus. And so it's going through, he's basically documenting through each album the evolutionary stages that this track goes through.
Okay.
So that seems more a stylistic choice than just sharing content to me. And that song is called Storm, which is mostly raging against alternative medicine. In fact, there's a quote from the song. Says, and this is from the song Storm. I'm not going to sing it, but I'll just read it. It says, by definition, I begin. Alternative medicine, I continue, has either not been proved to work or been proved not to work. You know what they call alternative medicine that's been proved to work? Medicine. That's part of Storm. Now, Storm has like different movements in it and stuff like that. It's actually kind of cool. You should take a listen to it sometime. It's got this kind of like talking jazz feel to it, at least in the main video that I can think of. That's, I think, a lyric video on YouTube.
Okay.
It's just long, so I wouldn't choose that as kind of my track shootout because I don't want to get copyright struck or anything like that. Although we are listening and commenting on it, so it would be classified as fair use.
Yeah. Would you have to make sure to say something every 10 seconds?
I don't know. Maybe, or pause it. I don't know. So as far as album sales, I cannot actually find any data on either of them, which is really kind of odd, especially considering Michael W. Smith, given that he's been pumping albums out every couple of years since 1983.
He should have some kind of Billboard ranking.
I would think, but like even in reading through this stuff, like the actual sections within here that are talking about individual albums, it's just like they don't discuss sales at all.
Yeah. Well, if we were to do an album shootout, mine would be the ballad "Place in This World."
Place in This World. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that came on Go West Young Man. That was his actual crossover hit. Although that peaked at number 6 though. He on Billboard's Hot 100. So I mean, like it did go pretty far.
And just for viewers that love metal, when we say crossover, we mean it found mainstream success. Not that he ever wrote a thrash song in his life.
Yeah, no. The closest he ever came to rock music, from what I can tell, is the fact that he was a guest pianist for the Christian band Guardian on their Swing Swang Swung album in 1994.
That is a terrible name for an album, unless it's actually a swing themed album, which would be hilarious.
I would assume probably so, as he was a guest pianist on there, so that would make sense. All right, so how are we going to do this? Because we obviously disagree with on this one. I would say that Tim Minchin is more widely known than Michael W. Smith.
I would disagree with that. I think Tim Minchin is more well known in comedy circles, maybe, but he's also kind of a very particular style of British comedian, right?
Yes, he is a British comedian.
So I know he's well known in British circles.
He's very well known. He's very well known across Europe, and he's done at least a couple of tours here in the States.
Yeah. So I only hear people mention him if they're familiar with like British comedy. I've never heard like anyone that wasn't a British comedy fan be like, "Oh yeah, there's this guy Tim Minchin you should listen to."
True, but if we were to like walk up to random people and say, "Hey, here's this guy and then here's this guy, which would you rather listen to?" I still kind of think Tim Minchin would get it, if not on funny points, then potential overall technical skill, because I'm not going to say Michael W. Smith is not skilled on a piano. It's relatively clearly demonstrated that he knows what he's doing, but it seems like he tends to play it safe on a lot of things. He doesn't seem to really take any real risks with how he plays.
His first 3 or 4 albums were risks for their time period.
Okay.
And then after those first few albums, that's whenever it was kind of like he had found his niche, and there wasn't really, is it niche or niche?
Niche. Potato.
Place in this world, and he pretty much, like, it didn't matter if he went out, like there was no unsafe zone for him at that point. Once you've had 3 or 4 albums that sell pretty well in the Christian circle, like you could do whatever you want musically and people are going to buy it.
All right, so I think at this point we're going to have to bring it down to either views on YouTube plus listen to a song from each of them, which obviously will use Mike Smith's biggest hit, which would be A Place in This World, and I would put it up against Rock and Roll Nerd personally. That may not be Tim Minchin's biggest hit, that may not be his most out there song or most risk taking song, but it's one that I find rather interesting personally. Okay. So first we're going to look up Michael W. Smith. Okay. So one thing I'll say right now is that when I searched for Michael W. Smith, when I started typing everything in, when I got Michael W., the first thing that popped up as a potential search result was Michael Winslow, the guy from Police Academy.
Yes.
I mean, so looking at,
which there are days where I would rather listen to him.
Yeah. So looking at Michael W. Smith stuff, his biggest thing that I can see right now, so he has 229 videos posted. He has 286,000 subscribers. So that's definitely respectable. It's a hell of a lot more subscribers than I have. So
if you were to draw a proper correlation between his number of subscribers and yours, your subscribers would be akin to what's that called, where you take the water and you dilute it down? Homeotherapy.
Oh, homeopathy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is like 10C of his. If you want to break it down like that, which why would you? Okay, so looking at his videos, let's just pull up music since that's what we're discussing. And okay, so the video that I found that has the most views on it is I kind of don't want to count this one because it's featuring artists from other bands, and so to me that would skew the numbers a bit.
Okay.
So
the song?
it's Waymaker featuring Vanessa Campagna and Madeline Berry. And that's got go ahead.
I feel like that's a new song.
Came out a year ago.
Yeah.
And that has 12 million views. That's a lot. Taking one step down is A New Hallelujah. This came out 10 years ago, and that one has 9.8 million views. And in fact, I actually don't see. Wow. Michael W. Smith does not have a video on his channel for the song Place in This World.
Yeah. And a big reason for that would probably be because it was before YouTube, so he probably didn't have the professional release to YouTube for himself.
I don't know. I don't know. He's got the stuff for he's got the video for Secret Ambition that came out not like maybe a year after that.
But because it wasn't a huge hit, it may not be like tied up in copyright.
Possibly. Well, no, it even has the ones that are tied to Vivo, the video publisher. So anyway, so in looking up Tim Minchin, and as soon as I type in Tim M, the first two results are Tim Minchin and Tim McGraw.
Okay.
So Tim Minchin, I would say has beaten him, has at least beaten him as far as YouTube goes. Because with only 51 videos, Tim Minchin has 328,000 subscribers.
Oh, but it's like what, within 40,000?
It's within 40,000, but at the same time, that's subscriber. When you look at the correlation of subscribers per video, Tim Minchin wins astronomically. Like let's do the math on that one real quick. We'll do the math real quick, and let's see here. All right, so So Mike W. Smith had 286,000 subscribers and 229 videos. So that means he's averaging roughly 1,250 subscribers per video.
Okay.
That's really good. That's like there no discounting it. That's an achievement. So Tim Minchin with 328,000 subscribers and 51 videos, coming in at 6,431 subscribers per video.
Yeah.
So Minchin definitely wins that one. In that regard, to me. So let's see. I guess we're gonna have to go through and do what is it? The music videos or the songs at least.
Okay. We'll have to do a musical shootout.
The musical shootout. All right. So let's see. Let me pull up another instance of YouTube so that I can have them right next to each other and we can kind of go back and forth.
And hopefully the destroy everything.
Right. Well, no, my computer's got a pretty beefy processor and an even beefier graphics card, so
I was talking more about for some reason the audio when it plays through is sometimes as low quality or sketch.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this works well. Let me listen to this for a second real quick. Okay, no, it sounds okay.
Okay. And you want to listen to the whole song, or do you want to do like 40 seconds of like the main hook or something?
We'll probably go through and pick each of them apart a little bit.
Okay.
I think would probably be the appropriate thing to do as far as that goes.
Okay.
All right. So, since this is secular versus Christian, we'll start with the Christian one.
Okay.
That way, there's no coloration one way or the other based off of another artist. We just hear the artist as he is. I think that's as fair as I can possibly be, especially given that I really am not a huge fan of this type of music, just in general. Make sure to share audio. Don't get me wrong, I used to be many, many moons ago. But no, not anymore. All right, so here we go. Let's bring the volume down just a little bit. Still hear everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my god, I already hate this. I hate this so much already. It's like synth piano Justin Timberlake, and I hate everything about this. I mean, that's me. And of course, like the walking across sand crap that's like in every 90s video ever. He sings through his nose. No, stop with it. Do not sing. Okay. No. I just that's almost painful to listen to. and not even because he's a Christian artist. That has nothing to do with it. Like, this has everything to do with his voice. He is singing through his effing nose. I can I oh I don't even like when Tim Minchin does it, okay? And Tim Minchin does do it on occasion. I cannot stand vocalists who sing through their nose. This is going to get me a lot of hate. This is why I absolutely hate Scorpions.
Okay.
I don't like the Scorpions. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's the Scorpions." No, he sings through his effing nose, and even when he's on key, he sounds perpetually flat. But anyway, let's power through this a little more. Now, overall, okay, the lyrics are okay. But in all honesty, this sounds like it achieved commercial success just because it sounds like Discount Michael Bolton. Except Michael Bolton has a far superior vocal range and sings way better than this guy. And if I had listened to any of Michael W. Smith's music prior to this, I would have put him up against Michael Bolton.
That's why I was so angry when you said Michael Bolton the first time. I've heard that before, though.
Like that right there, my place. Like it's obviously like on the roof of his mouth and pushed out of his nose. Like he's trying to sound like Vince Neil and he sucks at it. That's what that sounds like to me. And then of course you have your soft rock guitar. Okay, so he uses every trope from glam metal.
Nothing about the song.
There is nothing original about this. I am deducting several hundred points for originality.
I think the best thing about this, I don't know if it's the final product, but like the tempo keeps changing, it keeps slowing up and speeding down.
Say what?
I said, I don't know if it's going to be in the final version of the video, but right, I think the tempo keeps. And that's just hilarious to me. It makes it so much better knowing that small can't stay in the same tempo on the playback.
Yeah, I just. Okay, that's it's.
Ladies, that is my champion.
Say what?
I bring to you. That is my champion that I bring to you for dude and piano. There's no better description of the genre dude and piano than that dude and that piano in that video on the beach.
No, I would. In all honesty, I could just say Billy Joel, Piano Man.
But you didn't. You didn't say.
I didn't. But you're saying the best possible description. No, I believe me when I say that that aside from a couple of genres, I was quite charitable to you.
Okay. I was very surprised you did not go with Billy Joel as the obvious choice.
Trust me, like initially I was torn between Billy Joel and Michael Bolton.
Okay.
But I chose Tim Minchin because not only is he secular, he's openly atheist.
Okay.
So I figured, you know what? I'll push that out there. And plus, I want more people to listen to Tim Minchin. Even though I do want to see Billy Joel come back on top as far as people listening to his music. So people, listen to Billy Joel. Piano Man is awesome. Just go listen to it, please. You'll thank yourself, you'll thank your ears for being able to hear it, and you'll thank me for sending you to it if you've never heard it before.
And also, we didn't start the fire.
Oh yeah, we didn't start the fire, but Piano Man is like quintessential. It's like it's the closest any other artist to, in my eyes, it's the closest any other artist has come to matching Bohemian Rhapsody for its intensity and storytelling. As far as being in that same vein of thought. Now there are other like better storytelling albums out there. Like, I mean, you could insert almost any Pink Floyd album at that point because every single album is a story from start to finish. And that's one of the things that made Roger Waters a mad genius.
I was gonna say that Piano Man, the way that it's a single encapsulated story and within a single world, reminds me a lot more of Bob Dylan.
Yeah, Bob Dylan, or maybe Arlo Guthrie, like when he did Alice's Restaurant.
Yeah.
Which I actually like that song, even though it's like 18 and a half minutes and he's just like rambling. But, you know, it is what it is. So, all right. We've let our ear palette wane a little bit. So let's bring up Tim Minchin. And this is Tim Minchin's Rock and Roll Nerd. I love this song. This song just like kind of speaks to me overall. And so we'll see how this goes. Now, this also has the lyrics in there. So in case anyone has any trouble understanding something that he says, or wants to know the spelling of a word, if he uses any British slang, I don't think he does. But if he did, this is how you would know what it's spelled like to look it up to see what it means, in case you don't pick up on context clues. All right, so this is Tim Minchin's Rock and Roll Nerd.
This is a song about the music industry trying to get famous and have no.
He's very self-deprecating, which is one of the things that I like about him. He's not hung up on his own. He's not high off his own fumes like a lot of artists.
Have a problem with drugs. He just doesn't.
You have to turn it up.
Turn it up?
He's fine that his mates have.
Yeah.
It's at max volume, but I'll do that.
So, rock is hard as Michael W. Smith.
Oh, just wait. Like I said, it's called Rock and Roll Nerd, so it's about the technical aspect of things.
But he reckons they'll rue them.
Can you hear it better now?
He likes going to pubs,
yeah,
but he hates it when the music's too loud. He tends not to go to rock concerts because he can't stand the crowd. But all he's ever wanted to be is a rock star on Rage or MTV. But he knows that it's not fucking likely. He just turned 30. He knows that he will always be a rock and roll nerd. He'll keep writing songs the world will never hear. And though they won't be heard, he'll just keep writing. Oh yeah.
See, this is what I think of when someone says dude and piano. There is nothing else. There is a dude plus piano, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
I would say he embodies that better than Mike Smith does.
Okay.
On top of that, this is purely just him and the microphones and the piano and in front of his face. So this is not some like overly produced, time aligned, heavily edited music video off of a music track. This is him just doing the music.
But you see, the problem is he always dreamt of being a star, but he learned piano instead of guitar, which in the 90s didn't get you very far. So while you're
right there,
stairway, he was the.
What's that?
In the 90s, it did get you very far.
It did if you were the right age. But this is a guy who didn't. So okay, piano was already falling out of favor by the time this guy turned 18. He was born in 75. So the piano thing in the 90s was starting to already be played out by the time he was and also he went through and got a bachelor's degree and all this other stuff. So looking at all of that, the way I see it anyways, is that by the time that he got to a point where he felt he could do some of this professionally, it had already kind of played out. And that's part of what he's talking about, is that he was behind the curve.
But what age are we talking about in being in the 90s? Because like
he turned 20 in 1995.
Okay. So like 3 years younger.
3 years younger, but also stayed in school and things like that until about the year 2000 almost.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So continuing.
Came out?
What?
Around the time that 5 for Fighting came out?
I think so, something like that. But like he says, he's a rock and roll nerd, not a pop nerd.
Okay.
So you're talking about pop music, not rock music.
That's true.
So the rock thing with piano, that, in all honesty, it was probably played out when November Rain came out in 1990 or 1991. But anyways, continuing on.
Piano to their forte, but he was convinced one day he'd rock their fucking asses and be an icon for the disenfranchised masses, and grow his hair long and rebel against the state. But just for now, that'd have to wait, cause he's running late for his morning classes.
A lot more prowess displayed on the piano, I would say.
He'll keep playing gigs that no one knows about. Though it sounds absurd, he'll just keep playing. Oh yeah, but you see, the problem is there's not much depth in what he's singing. He's a victim of his upper middle class upbringing. So he can't write about the hood or bling bling. So he sits and imagines his girlfriend is dead, to try and evoke some angst in his middle class head. But the bitch is always fine at 9:30 when he go to bed. And he's not spent a single night in prison. He has no issues with nutrition. He has no drinking problem and no drug addiction. Unless you count the drugs they put in chicken. And marijuana always tends to make him cough. He doesn't look good with his t-shirt off, but when he tries to act tough, you can tell he's tricking. While his mates will go out late, popping pills.
So he shifts into polyrhythm. Again, technical prowess is what I'm bringing to the table with this.
While his mates will go on dates, taking speed and drinking cans of Jim Beam. He stays home and cooks, curls up with a book with a girl he's had since he was 17. Cause he's never really been part of the scene, while the other kids like Gunners, he like Queen. He's more into Beatles than the Stones. He's more Stevie Wonder than Ramones. And he's never owned a panel van. He never shot a Pantera fan.
Why did they spell Pantera wrong? That's a criticism I have.
He likes Ben Folds and the Jackson 5. He knows all the words to stay alive. And though he wants to be all grungy and cool, he spent 11 years at a private school. So it don't matter how he tries, he cannot hide behind his rock and roll lies. Cause you either got it or you don't. Yeah, you'll either rock it or you won't. Yeah, you either got it or you don't. Yeah, you'll either rock it or you won't.
And the only backup he uses, I think, is here.
He knows that his music.
Oh, never mind. That comes towards the end of the song, I think. But yeah, the shifting, like the polyrhythm, the going back and forth, the actual piano prowess he displays, I would say is definitely superior to Mike Smith.
But he doesn't want to seem self-obsessed, so he writes in third person.
And of course, the comedic aspect of it as well. It's woven into
I
it.
don't
It's
know.
Seen more rock and roll, but he suspects it's not working. And deep in his heart,
I'm just
he
like
knows
so
he
bored
will
watching.
never.
Like I'm not getting any emotional response or reaction. Like even like the corny cheesiness. Like I'm not saying that.
I think it's
Michael
probably the
doesn't.
audio quality because I can hear all the laughter going on when he drops the corny and cheesy stuff. But the whole point of it is it's still British humor to an extent. So it's to some degree, even though he's singing with emotive voice, it's still a relatively deadpan delivery.
Yeah.
The piano does more of the talking. The piano is where that emotion comes from. When you actually pay attention to every aspect of the song and kind of break it down in your head as he's playing it, it makes a lot more sense, and you can kind of see why he's playing things in a certain way. He's not doing it just because it sounds cool. It has a purpose to it.
Honestly, I wasn't getting that at all. To me, it seemed like he was showing off his technical prowess with different areas, but that's not to say that someone else doesn't have technical prowess in one of their songs. It's just that the songwriting didn't call for it. I think here it's like, well, let me show some range in a song, but I don't know that in terms of songwriting that it was required. It was just kind of a venue to show off certain skill sets.
Except that when it called for like a more powerful drive to something, the piano is what does the talking. He hits the
Yeah.
chords harder. He's utilizing the piano not as a prop like how it kind of seems with Mike W. Smith, and it's the primary driving voice behind things.
It's
the like he's the overall primary. His lyrics, what he says, but the drive comes from the piano. That's what's conveying the emotion being felt or the emotion being elicited.
I mean, it still kind of reminds me of like hipster Carrot Top.
Yeah, no, he's way funnier than Carrot Top. He at least he actually thinks through his comedy.
Now you're taking shots at Carrot Top, man.
Okay, Carrot Top literally got jacked on roids because he was tired of being made fun of for being the skinny dude with curly red hair.
Yeah.
Like the dude's got an emotional glass jaw.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just how he is. And also the plastic surgery to his face, like, wow, no, don't do that, dude. Now it's like the effing Joker without the face paint. Like seriously, his like mouth is stretched like, huh? Like
Wasn't his mouth huge though?
say what? Yeah, he already had like a what appeared to be a larger than average mouth. Maybe, I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched Chairman of the Board, the only good movie he ever did. And even then, it was a good movie because of the supporting actors like Courtney Thorne Smith and the dude who I can never remember his damn name. He's just always in some of the funniest movies. He's a quintessential supporting actor, and he's really good at it. But anyways, we'll finish this out.
Bono or Bowie, and even if he was quite pretty with small pants like Kylie, he knows that he will always be rock and roll man. He'll keep writing songs the world don't care about, and though it sounds absurd, he'll just keep writing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You can criticize him, but he won't care, because he wants to rock, and he will never be deterred. But he'll always be a fucked up little try-hard wannabe rock and roll nerd.
And then yes, he transposed the intro to Stairway to play on on piano. And that's not even the that's not even like the what's considered the quintessential live version of that song.
Yeah.
He actually displays even more technical prowess when he actually ends up going on this like basically British version of the Tonight Show.
Well, I was bored. I mean, there was nothing there emotionally grabbing to me. It was like, and you hated Michael W. Smith.
I really did.
But
Like,
you got
no,
emotionally
every emotion displayed in Mike Smith's song was utterly fake. Like, there was nothing convincing. Nothing convincing. What?
You reacted to that when you saw him.
I reacted to his shitty vocals.
He evoked a response from you.
No, he evoked shitty vocals.
That was power right there.
No, that was shitty vocals. Like I'm not bending on that one. That was terrible vocals. There was literally no technique displayed on the piano at all. The piano was a fucking prop.
The piano was what the melody was written on. The melody was written on the piano, and then it was supported.
And yet I don't even remember the damn melody.
Hey, you don't?
No, I don't remember the melody from Michael W. Smith's video. That's how forgettable it was. The only thing I remember from that song, aside from his trash vocals and the sand, was the fact that the main line in the chorus is "My Place in This World," where he does the really crappy attempt at gritty vocals.
And
I can honestly say, as of right now, just 10 minutes later, I do not remember any of the lyrics from the verses. I don't even remember the melody, and I vaguely remember that there was like really crappy synth guitars partway through. That's all I remember from the video.
And the hair.
The hair. What do you mean? Oh, yes, the shitty wannabe Michael Bolton haircut. I'm sorry.
So,
Dollar Store Michael Bolton. I can't concede defeat against that.
I'm not going to cave on this. I would have caved to a better artist, but this one, like, I just can't see the songwriting holding up to being a musical artist. If we're going off of comedy or we're going off of something else, maybe, but
but a quintessential part of comedy is the writing. He wrote a song which comedy was weaved into.
But the song, I think, is weak. Like, his technical prowess in playing the song is okay, but the actual song itself and the structure is just, it lacks. Like, it's boring. It's doesn't have any hooks. It's not. I'm not feeling that song as anything other than a conveyance for comedy.
Okay.
If those lyrics were not funny, no one would buy that album.
If the piano playing wasn't good, they wouldn't buy the album. I don't think.
I think they would.
No, because that's his primary thing is he bills himself. But you know what? Fine. I will bend on this. You know what? I'm gonna say I don't care. Because even if Tim Minchin won this round, he would not win the tertiary, the next elimination round. None of them will. And the reason why is because they're going up against a classical composer.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So I will grant you. I'm just going to take the W out.
You're going to take the W down.
I'm going to take the W out so it just fits better.
Oh.
That's the only reason why I'm taking it out. No, still font size 14. Okay. So that's what fits. So I will grant you Michael Smith. I will grant you Michael Smith. So the next, so now we're going to look at classical, and we have Antonin Dvorak versus George Handel or Georg Handel. So go ahead and start making your case. I will pull up their respective Wikipedia pages.
Okay, so Handel is most commonly associated with Christmas music, which is hilarious because his about Christmas at all. It was about the apocalypse. So
yeah, that's a little.
It is. It's about the end of the world, the second coming of Christ.
Interesting.
So that's awesome and kind of hilarious. Like that's cool. It is instantly recognizable. It is defining. People know it, and also the use of subliminal tones is beyond. Like that was so cool. The fact that he was doing this so early on, he was using sounds that are inaudible, but you can feel.
Okay.
So some of the organ and tubular bell instruments that he was using used frequencies below human audio hearing to create a sense of emotion within the song. And that's one of the reasons why his music is so powerful around Christmas time and brings back that nostalgic and family feel. So I think that my argument is that he, like our culture and our society would just be completely different. Our memories of our childhood growing up would just not be the same if it wasn't for the music he wrote.
Okay. I would say in a lot of ways that our childhoods would be very, very different if not for the presence of Antonin Dvorak. He's a Czech composer. He's from quite a bit later on, or closer to our time than George Friedrich Handel. Handel was born in 1685 or thereabouts and died in 1759. Dvorak was born in 1841, died in 1904. He was a Czech composer, and he was actually one of the first Czech composers to ever achieve worldwide recognition. Not only that, he's basically a Czech Mozart.
Definitely deserves respect.
Like displaying musical gifts at a very early age, essentially mastered the violin at the age of 6. Like first public performances of his work were in Prague in 1872, with special success in 1873 when he was 31. He submitted a score of his first symphony, the first thing he wrote, and didn't win. Even though he didn't win, people didn't know about it. It actually got lost, and then was eventually rediscovered many decades later. And it's actually thought that the reason why he didn't win was because it was lost prior to judging. Because they've listened to it and kind of put it up against other things that they knew were submitted at the time, and other music critics have declared his, in a blind listen, that his was actually superior to the other things that they heard.
What was the time frame of that competition?
That would have been in I'm assuming it's going to be 1873, because the next thing he talks about is in 1874 he made a submission to the Austrian State Prize for composition, including scores of 2 further symphonies and other works. Though Dvorak was not aware of it, and this to me speaks volumes of his prowess as a composer. The leading member of the jury, of the judging for that composition that Dvorak was not aware of, was Johannes Brahms. And he won. In fact, Dvorak won in 1874, did not submit in 75, won again in 76 and 77. And in fact, it wasn't until 1877 when Brahms and a prominent critic, Edward Hanslick, who was also a member of the juries during that time, made themselves known. To which Brahms actually put Dvorak in contact with his publisher, who commissioned what became what is Dvorak's Opus 46 called Slavonic Dances. And I've actually played the tuba line from the tuba part for that back when I was in band in high school. We played the entire we played both sets, Opus 46 and 72. And the crazy thing about it was, before it was actually transliterated into a band piece, it was written for four hands on a piano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let's see. And on top of that, he actually incorporated rhythms and other aspects of the folk music of the regions he was from in Bohemia and Moravia into his music. To quote from Clapham in 1980, Dvorak's own style was described as the fullest recreation of a national idiom, with that of the symphonic tradition, absorbing folk influences and finding effective ways of using them.
That would explain some of the things that I'm familiar with from it.
Also, all nine of his operas, with the exception of his first, have librettos in Czech and were intended to convey the Czech national spirit. By far the most successful of the operas was Rusalka. Among his smaller works, the Seventh Humoresque and the Songs My Mother Taught Me are also widely performed and recorded to this day. And he has also been described as arguably the most versatile composer of his time.
Let's go ahead and take a pause right here, because I would like to interject something
Go for it.
in support of him, actually.
Okay.
For people that do not know a lot about classical music, there's historically been a large problem with culturalism or racism
Yes.
in music, where operas were pretty much refused to even be considered or listened to unless they were performed
in one of three languages. It'd be Latin, Italian, or German.
Yeah. So it's pretty important when you think of a composer who has achieved some kind of fame or some kind of recognition, refusing to write his operas in those languages and sticking to their native language or the language that they want to write it in. And that's a pretty strong argument of integrity within the artist.
And not just that, but also the overcoming of what would be considered extreme adversity. Because you remember, this is, okay, he died in 1904. This is towards the end of the 19th century, a lot of his stuff. And so this is, if I remember correctly, a lot of this is during the time of some of the Prussian wars.
Yeah, I think this would be in the lead up to World War I. And
well, no, he died 10 years prior. Well, almost 10 years prior.
But a lot of the cultural issues that were going on in the Czech area,
yeah,
paved the way.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so yes, so this is during the time of the Prussian army actually going through, and they fought successful wars against Denmark, Austria, and France, which allowed Prussia to unify Germany, with the exception of Austria, and establish the German Empire in 1871. So this is a time when things about being Czechoslovakian or just being Czech were not going to be widely accepted.
Yeah.
And Dvorak managed to achieve that while also living in the Bohemian region of Germany when all of these essentially unification wars were occurring.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's pretty hardcore if you ask me.
Yeah, like in terms of someone who you got to have a lot of respect for, definitely up there, high on the list.
He's definitely ballsy.
Well, it's kind of like what you said earlier. It's like you don't really care about any of the other artists because they're not going to beat any of the classical artists that we like. None of the artists we talked about so far would beat any of the classical artists.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I don't know. There might be one or two artists that nowadays I would say, to some degree, I mean, yes, okay, they will have achieved greater fame than they did, only for the sheer fact that there are more people alive today than there were back then, even for Dvorak. But also at the same time, I would say that, and this is one of the reasons why I listen to metal music so much, is to me, metal music is classical plus electricity.
Yeah, I can hear that on some of it.
Because you look at some of the writing from some of these prog bands like Agony Is My Name or Dream Theater, or even going into earlier aspects, just the overall storytelling, the weaving of the music to tell a story, like with Led Zeppelin. Everything about that. Or instead of an entire song just being in one time signature, these morphing polyrhythms, one of which is still like morphing polyrhythms are done today. And one of the biggest bands that does it, even though I'm not a huge fan of it just because they're vocalists, is Tool.
Yeah. Well,
though I will say, I found the O'Keefe Music Foundation, who does quite a few covers of Tool, and they are amazing.
It's like you're saying, like metal is either, depending upon what direction you go, and really rock in general is either, I guess metal is more like classical plus electricity, but then it can also be blues plus technical work.
Yes, it can be. It very much can be. Where rock is where I see a lot of the more blues influences coming from. That's where you see a lot more of the exaggerated string bends, the playing slightly behind the rhythm, like some of the blues and jazz stuff. Like, look at Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Playing on the back end of a beat, the back end of a note, bending those strings. That was blues rock right there.
Yeah.
And that really embodied what rock and roll was at that time. Whereas on the classical side of things, you see the metal influences, or the classical influences on metal through artists like Steve Vai, who, I mean, in the movie Crossroads, as one of the final guitar battles between him and Ralph Macchio, plays Beethoven, if I remember correct. Like, actually transposed one of Beethoven's works into guitar to play for that movie. And then you have modern virtuosos like Yngwie Malmsteen, who almost never has vocals to anything he does, but writes these long symphonic works of just sheer amazingness when it comes to guitar work.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's very much modern classical, or the as close to classical as we can get nowadays.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, Handel wrote some really cool stuff. I do like some of Handel's stuff. Crap, I can't. No, I don't think he wrote this one. I know he wrote Messiah. Like, everybody knows he wrote Messiah, and everybody knows that he wrote Solomon. Which actually, I think that one was probably one of the ones that I liked more than anything else. Was like the I wonder if they showcase it. Yeah, right here on Wikipedia, they showcase it, the arrival of the Queen of Sheba from Solomon in 1748. That one was like kind of a cool little little ditty that I liked. There we go. List of compositions by George Friedrich Handel.
I also really like that these.
Did he write the Planet Symphony? No, I don't think so.
I really like that both of these artists are good representations of the Clash here, because you know, stuff is primarily focused on that's written for the Bible or Bible stories, or it's very religious in its leaning, whereas Dvorak is very much based upon the culture he comes from, not necessarily the religion.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I like his stuff.
And it's really interesting because these are really good examples of, like, the perfect battle between them would be kind of like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's just, you know, most of ours are going to be a lot hokier and a lot funnier. But this is a pretty. And
yeah, to me, this is a really solid, just, you know, punch from both categories.
Kind of adversity.
Say what?
I don't think Handel faced any kind of adversity.
No, he achieved mainstream success actually relatively quickly, and plus he wrote virtually everything for the church. So, I mean, he really didn't have anything as far as that goes. In fact, if I remember right, aside from being a violin student, Dvorak was not really educated or trained in music, whereas Handel very much was.
Yeah.
Now, granted, during his time, Handel did see a lot of commercial success. He started 3 commercial opera companies within 15 years of like breaking onto the scene in 1727, if I remember right. But most of his mainstream success comes shortly before his death, more than anything else, because he died in 1759. His big things would be stuff like his oratorios, like Solomon. Although he did play some really cool stuff, like one of his 4 coronation anthems, Zadok the Priest, which he wrote in 1727. It was composed for the coronation of George II.
Mm-hmm.
And is still played to this day. It has been performed at every subsequent British coronation, traditionally during the anointing of the sovereign. So that's something that still stays to this day. However, I will say that not very many classical artists have achieved what I would call Disney fame. Dvorak actually has. You ever watch Fantasia?
I know, and I like the.
And it's amazingly well done. Like, even without looking at the video, you can just listen to the music and you can just hear a story being told from start to finish with no vocals, just pure instrumentation. And you can hear a story being told. And that's even it's even if you've never seen Fantasia, anyone could listen to that. And if they have any imagination at all, could sit there and be like, yes, I like it. This sounds like a story being told with music.
I'm going to take a little dig here, and that is, I don't know if this says more about him or about me, but every now and then, whenever I try to remember The Sorcerer's Apprentice, I don't know, is that the name of the song?
Yes, actually it is. I believe so.
I keep trying to remember it, and then in my brain it pulls up Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies. I mix those two up a lot. Or like
I'm kind of confused. I'm a little confused as to how.
Because of the build of the rhythm. Like crosses over in my head and comes out as like some sort of weird classical dubstep.
I don't no, because Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies is dun 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 da da dun da da dun da da dun da 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 dun da 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 da. Whereas Sorcerer's Apprentice is dun da dun da dun da 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 dun da dun. Like there's no. I don't hear any like rhythmic interchange between them.
On a count of 3, you'll do Sugar Plum, and I'll do Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Why? Because I know Sugar Plum Fairy is better than you?
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Dun da da dun 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 da da dun da da dun da da dun da 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 dun da 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 dun 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 dun. I honestly couldn't hear you like at all. Your mic was cutting out.
Yeah, I couldn't hear me either. I don't think it's going to work on this.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that'll be a project for later. We'll combine
when you have a better microphone, or rather, it's like I'm gonna be upgrading my microphone hopefully here soon, and then I'll just give you this one. It's not gonna hurt my feelings for you to have it.
There's got to be someone who's watching this that's a music fan that'll be like, "Oh, I'll remix them together."
Hey, I mean, it would be better than the video for every Linkin Park song sounds the same.
The Sugar Plum Sorcerer.
That actually sounds pretty badass, in all honesty.
It's a lot better than
that's in all honesty, that sounds like Germanic anime. Like what was it like? Oh gosh, there's like an entire genre of anime in like entirely focused on cutesy bullshit like this. What the hell is it called?
Chibi?
No, like it. I've got to look this up now. I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm going to look it up.
The whole thing about anime, like, there's a whole genre of anime that takes place in like Germany, like Attack on Titan and Berserk, and like, what's up with that?
I know, it's weird. Okay, Magical Girl. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's all focused on cutesy, but it's magical and stuff like that. And the reason why I remember this is because there was actually one of these that I watched, and it was called Puella Magi Madoka Magica. And the reason why I watched it was because it was for anyone who looks at it on the face, it looks super cutesy. It looks like something that is basically just Sailor Moon with magic.
Yeah.
If you watch the series, holy shit, is it dark. Like it's unbelievably dark. And I'm not going to ruin it for anybody who might decide to go watch it, but it is unbelievably dark, and there is a lot more depth to it than you would initially expect.
Okay. Well, if you link it, I might look it up one day because I will not remember that name.
Okay. I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you later or something.
All right.
All right. So, Handel versus Dvorak.
You know, I'm still going to go down. Like, I could have lived my whole childhood and not had Mickey brutally murdering those broomsticks.
Yeah, but that's a choice by Disney. That had nothing to do with his music. His music was just used in the process.
I don't think I could have. It's I don't think I could have gone without all of the Christmas references. Like, wasn't it in Home Alone?
I don't know. I know Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies appeared in Home Alone, but that's Tchaikovsky.
What song are they singing whenever he goes into the church and he meets the dude that he's scared of? And it turns out he's just a nice grandpa.
I honestly don't know. Initially, I thought that was Mozart, but hang on. Let me look it up. What is the choir singing in Home Alone? They are singing "Oh Holy Night."
Oh, never mind. Well, that's not.
That is not Handel. Now, I mean, I will say it's like, Handel did write one of the quintessential Christmas songs that everybody knows, and that's "Joy to the World."
Yeah.
I mean, so he gets mad props for that, but this is about classical music. This is not a Christmas music genre. Otherwise, I would not have put Antonin Dvorak in this. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, the person who composed "Oh Holy Night" was Adolf Adam. In case anyone wanted to know that. But yeah, not George Friedrich Handel.
I just can't believe that "Joy to the World" and the Hallelujah chorus are so associated with Christmas, considering what they're actually about. It's funny.
Well, I mean, okay, when you look at the lyrics of "Joy to the World," it's "Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King." So they associate it with Christmas because they associate with the birth of Christ versus the second coming of Christ, even though it was very much, when you look at it in the context of how everything was written at the time, from what he wrote, it was very much an apocalyptic tale.
Yeah, it's literally, hey, all the nations killed each other. The only thing left is God.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's like in all honesty, I liken that to the inverse of the satanic panic of the 80s when they thought like everyone was practicing Satanism by playing D&D.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, no, this is like a blatantly apocalyptic end of the world song. Oh, but it's about Christmas. Versus, this is just a bunch of nerds rolling dice and telling a story. No, you're Satanists.
I just think it's awesome that if there is anything out there, everyone always thinks of it like, the nativity scene, and it's actually, no, it's more like Book of Eli. Like, that's
yeah. Yeah. No, I did like that movie. The Book of Eli was pretty dope. I liked that.
So, I mean, I guess what we're going with here is, I mean, how many of these contests that Dvorak won were something that Handel could have competed for, or are these after the fact?
Well, I mean, if these contests had existed during Handel's day, yes, he could have competed in them, because he lived in Germany at the time, even though he became a British subject in 1727. However, Dvorak was born almost a century after Handel's death.
Mm-hmm.
Handel died in 1759. Excuse me. And Dvorak was born in 1841.
Okay.
I will say, to an extent, though Handel probably wrote quite a bit more stuff than Dvorak did. Dvorak, to me, based on what I'm seeing here, and if I'm doing the math right, achieved success earlier in life than Handel and stayed successful technically longer. Because Handel didn't achieve mainstream success until after he was 40. Whereas Antonin Dvorak did by the time he was 31, and he stayed popular up until his death. And Handel did as well. I'm not discounting that at all. But Handel's musical career spanned about 30 years, and Dvorak's about 40.
This just reminds me a lot of like when people are arguing about who's a better metal band, and someone always brings up like Metallica, and it's like, well, of course they had mainstream success, like,
Yeah.
like,
well, I mean, but I'm also judging based on like his age at the time, and the reason at the time that he became successful, and the reason why to me that says quite a bit is not only was he young by composer standards, with the exception of people like, Mozart and Bach, with the exception of those two, most don't become popular until they're like over the age of 35 or 40. He
Right.
hit it right around the age of 30, 31. But on top of that, he did this at a time when just the nature of being Czech was looked down upon, and also incorporated cultural folk music into his compositions, which should not have garnered him success. By all accounts, he should have failed and died penniless in a gutter, given the attitude of the era and the region at that time. But he didn't. He became insanely successful, to the likes of which, he impressed Johannes Brahms.
I really feel like we're comparing like Metallica to System of a Down right now, where it's like you would think that ideally like System of a Down should not have made it as big during the time period they did because of the Armenian and Middle Eastern influences in their music that they built upon. And I got a lot of respect for
Yeah, no, I can see that. But at the same time, I wouldn't say this would be comparing Metallica to System of a Down, because those are two wildly different genres. System of a Down is more metalcore or hardcore punk, at least is how they're classified, than thrash, which is like definitive Metallica. Now,
Well,
I will say that Soad has used some thrash influences and things like that here and there. Like BYOB had a little bit of thrash in it towards the end.
and I'm talking about just their mainstream hits, like
Okay.
everyone
Well, if we're
knows.
talking about just their mainstream hits, the only thing that really had any kind of thrash in it would be BYOB. But if you look at Chop Suey, that was more genty than anything else.
Yeah.
Aerials, that was like almost crust punk. Tenement Square, again, that came off the same album that Aerials did, if I remember right. I mean, so they're very all over the place with their music, and that's actually one of the reasons why I like some of the things about them. I mean, I don't know. Like I still am kind of pulling for Dvorak on this one,
Yeah, and
personally speaking.
I've got lots of respect for him. I'm just thinking that I guess what it boils down to is someone who overcame adversity and spent a large, probably more of a prodigy. I think he definitely gets the prodigy title for
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he all but mastered violin by the age of 6. So, yeah, I mean, he is a bit of a prodigy.
And then the other person would be basically a hit maker. Like I think
Yeah,
more individual hits that people know and pull away from Handel, and it's
true. But this is more. But this debate is more about.
Is it about musical prowess or cultural impact in terms of what makes a band better?
I would say it needs to. It needs to be a few different things. For me, I don't really put a whole lot of stock in mainstream success on things. Like, for instance, there's only a couple of bands on here that I list that are just like big names. Most of the kind of stuff that I listen to are things that, to me, they're big names. And in my community of metalheads and things like that, they are big names in the metal community, but not a lot of people outside of, longtime listeners ever hear about some of these bands. It's one of the reasons why I brought them in, because I want them to be known about. But yeah.
Was anyone Handel was doing prior to him?
Say what?
Like what Handel was doing musically? Was anyone doing like that exact same thing prior to him?
I would argue that every composer was doing that at that time. This is early to mid 18th century. So this is Handel, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, all of them. All of them were doing this.
I guess the big difference for me is and it's What separated his music was the use of tone to evoke emotion. Like other people, I feel like it was more structure and it was more technical prowess in writing. And he,
With the exception of Mozart, Mozart mostly just wrote things to fuck with people.
yeah, that's true.
Like I think we may have talked about this at the time, but there was this one female vocalist that he just absolutely hated and thought she looked stupid because every time she would sing a high note, she'd stretch her neck up to make sure she hit the note, and every time she'd sing a low note, she'd drop her jaw and drop her head into her chest to try and get that chest resonance out a little bit more. And so he wrote a song for her that when played, she's doing this chicken neck head bob thing going from high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. He wrote that just to fuck with her. He hated her that much that he wrote a spite song to make her bob her head like a chicken and look like an idiot in front of as large an audience as possible.
Oh,
this dude was like compositional Ben Shapiro, where the only thing he seeks to do is to embarrass people in front of a large audience as possible.
Yeah. For having bad form.
Yeah, for having bad form. That's really all it is. I don't know. To me, Handel is just, one more composer in a long line of composers that achieved mainstream success by doing the same thing. Yes, he did use some novel techniques, but that was not the primary purpose of his work. His primary purpose was to write things that would sell. Dvorak, to me, that's where actual innovation took place. It was something nobody else was doing in a time that nobody should have been doing it, at least according to what would be the cultural norm of the time. And not only did he do that, he did so exceedingly well as to impress one of the greatest composers of the Romantic era, Johannes Brahms. Now, I'm looking through Handel's stuff. I'm not finding anything as far as like contests or anything that he entered or things like that.
The approval of the church to write coronation anthems, he was not competing for anything.
No, he wasn't competing for things.
Sitting on top of the world at that point. But I'm
pretty sure.
a
lot of that, based on what I'm seeing here, a lot of that seems to have to do with who he knew and where he came from, more than anything else.
I want to say that weren't there actual like buildings that were built for the instruments and for the compositions that were being done, like basically to help create those tones and sounds. Like the facilities were special built.
Not for Handel though, and not for those tones. He actually was manipulating already existing architecture. Like he wasn't having new things built or anything like that. It was just a natural phenomenon that he happened across, inside of a church cathedral, the vaulted ceilings and stuff like that. That's what lended things to that sort of sound. And so it was more an accident of architecture than something intentionally sought out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so cool to think of like a classical composer as a pedal head.
It's cool to think about it that way, but it doesn't look like any of that is actually referenced as being something that he deliberately incorporated for that purpose.
Well, he deliberately incorporated it, but he may not have requested the architecture to be custom made. Because
he didn't request anything like that.
Yeah. Because anytime you use those subliminal or subaudible notes, it's intentionally built.
Subtonal frequencies.
Subtonal frequencies. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess this one, like, I'm just glad that they both have some kind of exposure in the show.
Yeah,
And
I agree too. In fact, pretty much the only thing. Okay, so I guess one thing that it's would be another thing is aside from Messiah and Solomon and the coronation anthem, which most people don't even know that he wrote the coronation anthem that's used today. Granted, we haven't had a coronation in England since the 50s, 40s.
do we want to
So,
sample those or not? Not right now.
not right now, maybe. Just I want to continue on with the discussion. Um, a lot of his stuff has kind of way fallen out of favor, or fallen into obscurity. Like all of his Italian operas, except for a couple of selections, like the aria from Circe. Everything
Mhm.
else is just kind of blah. Um, like the oratorios continue to be performed, but not long after Handel's death, they were all thought to need some modernization, and Mozart orchestrated German versions of Messiah and other works. By the 19th and 20th century, his reputation rested almost entirely on the English oratorios, such as Messiah and Solomon.
Yeah.
So he seemed to fall into obscurity really quickly. And Dvorak has a pretty extensive international reputation. Um, in fact, Dvorak from 1892 to 1895 was the director of the National Conservatory of Music in New York City.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like they're both products of their time.
I don't think we'll know the answer until 150 years from now.
Probably not. Probably not. Personally, yeah, I put him up there, but the more I learn about Dvorak as this discussion goes on, the more firm I am in the decision that I picked the winner on that one.
I will concede that I don't think that modern score compositions in film would be where they're at without them.
Yeah, I mean, because you hear stuff like Slavonic dances and um, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and you can hear some of the tones and rhythms that I would say arguably made John Williams.
Yeah. I was thinking specifically like when we were talking about this earlier, I brought up Zimmer.
Mm-hmm. Hans Zimmer, yeah.
Yeah, like I just could not hear the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, him incorporating some of those rhythms without that being okayed by a predecessor.
Yeah. Or you can definitely hear the Czech or Slavonic influences of something like the Imperial March from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't just that plotting bum 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 bum. Like that's quintessentially Eastern European.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I'll give it to you for cultural impact.
all right. Cultural impact.
I see you trying to kill off Christmas,
No, I'm not trying to kill off Christmas.
ruin all my Christmas presents. Next, you're gonna tell me Santa Claus ain't real.
He's not. In fact, the modern interpretation of Santa Claus is entirely commercialized based off of the Coca-Cola company.
Now you're gonna tell me that Coke doesn't actually have cocaine in it.
Not anymore.
I don't know, man. I don't even know what to believe. What's our final matchup?
Final matchup is Worship Ghost versus Third Day.
This is all going to be based upon who you ask because
It is, and this is why I wish we had people on the stream watching this kind of play out, because yeah, this one I would say probably comes down to a vote. Although I don't know, I would choose Ghost. Obviously, I put them up as my contestant.
These are both funny because they're both worship that isn't worship.
I know,
Like,
and that's what makes it hilarious to me.
so I guess I'll tackle it from the Third Day perspective. So,
Okay, and while you're doing that, I'll get their Wikipedia page pulled up and whatnot.
is that both names are named after coming back from the dead. I didn't even think of that until like we started filming the episode.
Yeah.
The Third Day is named after Jesus crucified, coming back on the third day, and their music is kind of like this. I don't know. It's like the rock feel, like kind of like the mellow rock. I would compare some of their stuff to almost like Stone Sour type stuff.
Okay.
Maybe.
Are you talking about Third Day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or am I thinking Stained?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, like some of their stuff, it's got like that
Mhm.
like not really heavy rock, but it's just got a lot of like bluesy feel to it. But
Oh,
it's very much
Third Day is classified as Christian rock, Christian, contemporary worship music, and Southern rock.
yeah. I guess that's what it is. Like they got like that Southern rock feel, but it is very pop sensible, accessible rock. And
I
it's
would say that Ghost is as well. Now, I will say it's probably a little less accessible, um, only because they're a Swedish band, and it it has always taken a long time for stuff that is popular in Sweden to kind of hit mainstream success in the United States. It just is. Even when they sing in English, it always seems to take a while. And it's because, to me, I think geographically it has to work its way through Europe and overcome like German metal and stuff like that, and then make its way across the Atlantic over to us.
which is weird because Swedish artists they instantly find huge success if they're making music for American artists. Like
Yes, like they're amazing composers.
songwriters, DJs instantly find massive success if they start working directly with an American artist to write their songs or to like they're featured on an American artist.
Right. And also, if I really wanted to, I actually could have used Ghost as my gimmick band as well.
You
And
could, yeah.
the reason why is because, like, for those who don't know, they have a relatively out there, kind of eccentric stage presence. Um, the only There are only two identities within the band itself. There's the singer, who is almost always depicted as Papa Emeritus, or basically a satanic pope of sorts. And then the rest of the band are nameless ghouls. They all wear essentially identical, and they all cover their faces. Um, he's described as a demonic anti-pope, the Papa Emeritus character. So there are four popular incarnations of Papa Emeritus. There's Papa E 1, 2, and 3, and then Papa Emeritus Nihil or Nihil, also referred to as Papa Nihil or Nile. That is, for those who are not familiar, is the older guy who wears the Papa E costume with no facial prosthetics and plays a saxophone. More recently, they Tobias Ford's lead singer has taken on the character of Cardinal Copia, who has replaced and is described as being completely unrelated to any of the Papa Emeritus characters. Because in most of their live shows, Papa E was mostly silent except for when he was singing, whereas now with the Cardinal Copia character, he's a lot more interactive with the audience. And also, I think part of it is not wanting to wear those big, heavy robes because under stage lights, that would get hot as hell really quick.
Yeah.
And no, that was not an intentional pun by saying hot as hell when he's marketed as a demonic anti-pope.
I will say that whenever I saw, oh gosh, Jerry Only and the Misfits incarnation that he was playing with that night, in his like big stage get up that he literally took like a bucket of ice and poured it down the back of the cowl that goes around.
Mm-hmm.
And then like would just keep like he had ice just sitting back there because of how hot it gets.
Yeah. So can I just go ahead and, without us having any discussion on it, go ahead and cross out Michael Smith and name Antonin Dvorak the quarterfinalist for specialty group?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I mean, we already knew that was going to happen, that whoever the classical victor was, that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And let's see. All right. So there. I went ahead and did that just to kind of save us a little time.
Yeah.
So really, at the end of it all, is to some degree is who is going to go up against Oakley Dokley? Because the way I see it, like playing this chess game a little further ahead, if Ghost wins worship, Ghost will handily defeat Oakley Dokley for sure. It's hands down, because not only do they have a gimmick of their own, they do it bigger and better, and have completely maintained the gimmick to the point of hiding their own identities deliberately from the point of the band's inception all the way back in 2006.
But
and on top of that, their music has had a lot more commercial success, I would say, at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I just see them as a better example of like kind of like a ballad metal band. They do have songs that, and that's one of the things I like about having them considered as a worship band, is because they do have songs that are basically worship music.
Oh yeah. One of the best examples of this would be "He Is," and it's I love this one. It's hilarious to me, even though it's not marketed as a funny song. The video itself to me is funny, because it's openly parodizing and bashing like the faith healers and jackasses like that, especially the ones from the 80s, to the point where his costume that Cardinal Copia is wearing throughout it, actually is a direct ripoff of Tony Alamo.
Yeah.
But it's openly satanic from start to finish.
I just don't think that in terms of like what worship music is, that they are a better candidate to describe it than Third Day. Of course, I think Third Day is probably going to lose to Oakley Dokley if we debated this because of a few reasons. But I don't think that just saying who's the best candidate, that's like,
I know. It's like it would be like the Democrats, like, well, who's the best candidate that we can run against Donald Trump, not who is the best Democratic candidate for the country.
Yeah.
I mean, and I see what you're saying. I'm just saying it's like playing the chess game a little further ahead. That's something that I naturally think about just kind of on my own. But looking just solely at the category itself, okay, yes, Third Day is actually a worship band. There really aren't any secular worship bands. So either we just give it to Third Day and it's basically a gimme, or we have to interpret, if you will, a little bit of what it could mean to be a worship band or to be a member of the worship genre. Because when you look at Ghost's genres, they're hard rock, heavy metal, doom metal, psychedelic rock, prog rock, and pop rock. I mean, so that's what they are.
Worship is going to be, if you don't want to look at it as like a religious thing, it's going to be songs that basically come from a gospel or like a almost an R&B background, like a traditional R&B background. Not
Okay,
like
well then yes, I would say Ghost can qualify based on that with songs like He Is.
yeah, they can qualify. Yeah,
And potentially another song that I personally like, just because they take this just horrendous low bass guitar riff and pump it through a fuzz pedal, and the song is called From the Pinnacle to the Pit.
mm-hmm.
Is just as real dark grungy do 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 do. It's definitely an R&B riff.
Yeah. So, in terms of like the gospel with the sing-alongs and stuff like that, like they do have it, I do respect them for having incorporated elements of that into some of their songs because it provides a degree of authenticity to what they're speaking on and what they're parodying.
Yes.
But I think in terms of an overall band that better encapsulates that, I would think that Third Day songs are better for in terms of a purist standpoint.
The purest standpoint. Well, again, we're like I said, we have to make interpretation on this.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to be a purist on it from a secular perspective.
Yeah. And
the reason why I chose Ghost, for those who don't know, is that the members of the band are atheists. They just happen to be using the gimmick of Satanism to communicate a level of absurdity. And that's the point of it.
It's a metaphor. Like,
exactly.
They don't actually believe that they're robots. Like, they don't go out and then like inject energon into their chest.
Exactly. So, if you were to pick something, if we were to put song against song, what would you choose for Third Day?
Agnus Day.
Agnus Day. Okay, so one of the more recent ones?
No.
No, that's from the 90s. No, Agnus Day is something that Michael W. Smith has done recently. That's where I got the flip.
Yeah.
In my brain. So Agnus Day. Now, is that something that they themselves wrote? It's original to them.
I do believe so, but you can do a quick Wikipedia on it and see what their top original songs are. And by original to them, I believe that the
Okay, so Agnus Day was actually written by Rufus Wainwright.
When and where?
Agnus Day, Lamb of God. No, excuse me, not Rufus Wainwright. Samuel Barber is a choral Lamb of God is a choral composition in one movement by Samuel Barber, his own arrangement for his Adagio for strings in 1936.
So the lyrics are from there, but is the melody like? Let's hear that real quick, and I can see if it's the same thing. If it isn't, I'll have to go with another song.
Okay, let me pull that up. Samuel Barber, Agnus Day. And do a different screen share. I wish I could share like multiple screens. That would be really nice. Okay, so this is just the first thing I found. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Okay.
Nope,
It's
the lyrics
possible.
are the same.
I mean, I know the lyrics are the same, but it's possible that the melody is similar, but it's so
This is
such a
this is an updated yeah, it's an updated copy of a hymn. So this is not an original work.
okay.
And in fact, looking at
Well,
Agnus Dei by Third Day, the lyrics match up with the translation of the Latin from Agnus Dei by Samuel Barber.
okay. Well, what other hits do they have?
Cry Out to Jesus in 2006. I'm looking at their Gospel Music Awards. So, Sing a Song, You Are So Good to Me, God of Wonders, all those are 04. And God of Wonders won Worship Song of the Year in 2004. They were, well, no, excuse me, didn't win. It was nominated.
Let's go with that one. That's a good one.
God of Wonders. Okay. We'll go with that one. Third Day, God of Wonders. Okay.
This is actually just a perfect example of worship music.
Okay.
That's not.
Anyway, I'm going to bring this one up. Yeah. There we go. I'm going to bring the volume down a little bit. Everything still hearing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Lord of all creation, of water, earth, and sky. The heavens are your tabernacle.
Oh yeah, me picking
I
He
can't
Is
believe-
was a perfect choice to go against this. Now that I hear this. Yeah, okay, I know this song. I remember this song. This is one that I used to listen to way back in the day.
The visuals are also just kind of a perfect backup.
Say what?
Lord of heaven and earth.
Wait, is he as a direct parody of this particular song?
Say what?
Is he as a direct parody of this exact song?
No, it's not, actually.
Because it really sounds like it could easily be.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, okay. When you look at it, think of it like lyrical content. It could be, but the rhythm is definitely different. It's got more of a Spanish guitar kind of feel to it initially, because like the opening riff is like da 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 da. That's kind of how that one goes. But anyway, we'll continue on with this one. I mean, to me, this just seems like cookie cutter Christian music.
That's what worship music is.
I know, and it's like it sounds the same as literally everything else.
It needs to be
This song could easily have been done by Amy Grant or Vince Gill or Michael W. Smith with I mean anybody could do this song and it would pretty much be the same. I will give Third Day props. They wrote this. This is their original work. So I will give them props on that. However, anybody else who wrote it from that genre, I think a person will be hard pressed to find any artist in the genre that would not have made it sound just flipping like this.
Is this the actual music video?
I think so, yeah. This is the actual music video.
Just like stock footage.
It's boring. Like this is. I mean, this is like bullshit. This is bullshit soft rock. What? You got to speak up to trigger your mic.
You can cut it.
Say what?
We're good. We're good. That's enough of it.
Okay, thank
The
you.
whole point of worship music is how repetitive it is.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for anyone to stay on beat and to be able to hit the notes.
Okay, so now that we have that in mind, I'm going to bring up He Is. I'm also going to use the lyric video for this, just to kind of, so people can see what the lyrics are. I mean, God of Wonder is pretty basic. It's not hard to pick up on. They repeat the same stuff over and over enough. You know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes audio balancing with music videos, you don't always hear the lyrics as clearly as you hear like the instrumentation. So that's why I chose lyric video. And that's just because it's the nature of the beast with taking music off of YouTube and then playing it through another streaming platform back onto YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm trying to account for any loss in quality. So here we go. See what I mean by it's got almost that's actually no, not Spanish guitar. That classical choir harpsichord being played on guitar.
We're standing here by the abyss, and the world is in flames. Two star-crossed lovers reaching out to the beast.
This is reminiscent of Handel, isn't it?
Names.
It's all happy sounding and everything. And then you have this.
Shining in the light without whom we cannot see. And he is insurrection, he's fight, he's the force that makes.
And also see why I think this is like the perfect choice to go up against something like God of Wonders.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me pause it. Can't hear you. What?
The random Latin thrown in there, just like the worship bands tend to do, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
You
You see why this is such a perfect choice.
Hands down, this is clearly a worship song.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I would say it's clearly better done, and that's with me completely discounting audio quality issues with the other video, completely eliminating those, not counting those in any way. And I will say that this, to me, objectively or subjectively rather, is a better thought out and better done song. And I'm not even really the biggest fan of this song. I prefer heavier, harder stuff, as you well know. But I picked this song specifically for the category. So
Right.
I picked a song that I'm not even really fond of. But yeah,
I don't like this song.
Okay, I should declare it the winner based on that alone. I got Harry. You heard it here first, people. I got Harry, a contemporary, like an evangelical Baptist, to like a song that is an openly devil worshipping song.
The guidance of the morning stars will lead the way into the void.
Isn't it great? And I love how they animated the video to like emphasize the chorus and everything. Which this is exactly how it would show on like the Jumbotron at one of the mega churches. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It would be something like this,
This
even
is
though
exactly-
even though in all honesty they just use shitty PowerPoint presentations most of the time.
couplets all at once so that
Oh, hang on.
what to expect.
What?
The only difference is that instead of line by line, they would show like
They would show a chunk of
whole,
the song. Yeah, they would show a whole chunk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would. They would show like half of a verse basically. I did bring the volume down a little bit more that way, in case you wanted to say something. We may not have to pause it. And then we have the bit of the breakdown, the build, where you get to let the guitars showcase a little bit, which they normally do have kind of an instrumental break in a lot of worship songs.
On the album versions.
Yeah, on the album versions.
Yeah, 10 times.
So, I honestly think that Ghost wins because you admitted to liking it, even despite saying that you hate yourself for liking this. I mean,
God for enjoying this song.
Say what?
I said God will forgive me for enjoying this song.
Yes, but unfortunately,
You will not.
I will not. No, I will not. I will give you unending amounts of hell for this. So, yep, it's
No pun
official. Third day. No, there was no pun intended in that. Like, in all honesty. All right.
God may not hell for this, but I will.
Actually, I could probably crank that to. There we go. All right. So, in all honesty, I say Ghost beats Oakley Dokley.
Okay, I mean it's your boys. You make the argument, whatever you want.
Well, I mean, would you disagree with me on that? I mean, because that was like I was saying Dvorak beat Michael Smith, but there again, we kind of knew that was going to happen with classical music anyway.
Yeah. No, I just want Ned Flanders to win because I represented it.
Say what?
I could still see myself being represented if Flanders was in the finals. Like I'd be like, okay, well, his fictional character is Christian.
Okay. I can see what you're saying on that one. But I will say it's like Oakley Dokley is a much younger band in terms of how long it's been around. So I'm not going to judge based on commercial success or anything like that. I just honestly think that Ghost more aptly captures the aspect of worship more so than Oakley Dokley captures the aspect of the Ned Flanders gimmick, even though they do really work very hard to sell the bit to the point where they all go by stage names as, something Ned.
I just thought it was funny that since I've lost, my cat came up here and was like consoling me.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Ghost beats Oakley Dokley.
All right. Although I do think that it's all your boys in the quarterfinals, so you might as well make the decision on who's going to win.
In the interest, and as much as I would say that Dvorak should go on, I'm going to go ahead and say Ghost to go into the semifinals. And this is only because it's going to be going up against something either from main hard rock, modern rap, prog rock, or classic rock. and we're not going to get there's really no way to kind of accurately draw comparison and contrast between something like what Dvorak wrote and say Kanye if he won, or Petra if they won, or Rush if they won. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you're looking for direct comparisons, yeah, probably
something that would yield more of an interesting discussion versus this is classical. It sounds awesome. This is whatever the winner is out of that one. It sounds awesome. We really can't compare the two. So how are we going to decide? And ultimately, I think that would end up coming down to a dice roll.
Ultimately, my argument, because I have literally no race in this, no horse, no pony in this race anymore. One of those idioms.
Yeah.
That if you pick Oakley Dokley, then you're
You
going
mean
to
Ghost?
be able. No, I'm saying if you pick Oakley Dokley, you're going to be able to pick a song for them. If you pick Ghost, you're going to be able to pick a different song to show the audience a different style of their music.
True.
So what's more important to you, to play one song for Oakley Dokley or to play two songs for Ghost?
I would rather see more songs be played for Ghost to kind of show their well-roundedness.
Why am I saying Oakley Dokley? Because it's down to Dvorak.
Yeah, because Dvorak, I would just be picking from his catalog, and it's a pretty big catalog and all that, but it's really difficult to take that and kind of draw a direct comparison between the musicality of that, which is essentially like a multi-piece band playing something that someone wrote, versus, seeing the musical evolution within one song to the next.
Yeah.
And so for that one, I think I'm going to give it to Ghost, personally. As much as I'm not, super stoked about that, it makes the most sense for the purposes. Huh?
That font was so tiny at first.
Well, that's because I hadn't yet adjusted it.
Can you do text effects to flip the name upside down?
Yeah, I think so. I can make it do that. Make it do that. I can make it do that. It can even do this. But we'll just keep it with that.
Okay. I didn't know if it could mirror down like their name does.
Oh, probably. I just have not done a whole lot of playing with Google Sheets. And the reason why I'm using Google Sheets, even though I built this whole thing in Excel, is because I can edit this while screen sharing it without losing the tab, basically.
Got it.
Because because I'd done a little bit of playing around with this in Studio yesterday, just on a dummy thing without going live. And every time I would minimize the Excel tab, it would just skits out and not want to show. But on Google Sheets, it works out better. And also I could set the toolbar to where I had my strike through effect right there, where all I had to do was click and hit the button and we're good to go. So just as a time-saving measure.
I'm a little disappointed that the only head-to-head that I won this show was Michael W. Smith, and the rest of them you handily took.
I mean,
crumbles.
And I like to think that I was being as charitable as possible, to the point where I deliberately picked lesser known things to try and make it as fair as possible. I mean, with Worship, yeah, Ghost was pretty much the only option that I could think of. For Gimmick, there's a bunch of different ways I could have gone. Like, I could have gone with Guar. I could have gone with Weird Al Yankovic. I could have gone with Ghost.
You technically could have probably gotten away with the Devo.
With Devo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. But there's only so many times that you can listen to Crack That Whip before you want to, drag a cheese grater across your forehead.
What about
And they really, really butchered their cover of Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. Although, shamefully, I must admit, when I first heard it, I actually liked it. And that was before I heard the Rolling Stones for the first time.
But there is no better, like, I don't know if you'd say secular or atheist anthem than We Are Devo.
Yeah. Or, Devo's Dare to Be Different, which was then parodized by Weird Al Yankovic's Dare to Be Stupid. I mean,
our Devo.
Yeah. So, what should we hit next, I guess?
Well, it's been 2.5 hours. Are we at the end of the show?
I mean, if you've got somewhere to be, okay, we can stop here. I kind of wanted to go through and get a semifinalist for at least 2 categories.
Let's see if there's next ones that are easy decisions. Let's see what we got.
Easy decisions. Okay, so I would say that for easy decisions, we need to go to the other side of the page and look at either the metal genres or the counterculture. And between those, I would say the metal genres probably have the easiest picks.
Let's look at counterculture. Let's just see what we can weed out. Let's look at some of those.
Just kind of go through. So basically, just do a lightning round, basically a lightning elimination round. Okay, well then we'll just do the whole sheet like that. So Queen versus Petra. That should be no contest.
Give it to Queen. I'm not even gonna try. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all you fans out there. But come on,
for prog rock, all I'm gonna say is 2112.
Okay. Rest in peace, Neil. And yeah. Well, I guess in this way it's both of them, but yeah. Go Rush.
Yeah. So I don't think this one's actually going to be easy. I think we're going to have to talk about that because they use 2 different technical styles of rap. That's going to be a more involved discussion, I think.
That will be better, yeah.
And I think this will also be a bit more of an involved discussion as well. Breaking Benjamin versus Hard Rock.
Hard Rock?
The Hard Rock one, Breaking Benjamin versus POD.
That'll be a good discussion.
Yeah, I think these 2 will probably be decent discussions, so I think we should leave those kind of as is. Between the 2, that's going to be this is going to be an interesting discussion because Rush versus Queen.
I'll have to look up and see if any of them had religious lyrics that are worth discussing.
Okay, because I mean, these are both prog monsters. I mean,
or classic monsters.
Well, no. Like Queen had Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. That's prog, right there.
That's like an example of prog.
That's an example of prog. Yeah. And then Rush has 2112 or the entire album for YYZ.
Yeah.
So yeah, these 2 will be interesting discussions. So going down and across to look at our counterculture genres. Ska will definitely be a discussion for sure.
Okay.
And it's mainly because it's a genre I'm not super familiar with. And I think most people are not going to be familiar with outside of early Sublime and the one ska-ish album that Smash Mouth did.
Okay.
So that one's going to be a discussion. When it comes to funk, for those of you who don't recognize the abbreviations, this is George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelics.
Parliament.
I don't think there is anyone that can challenge them.
But we found one funk band that is Christian.
Yes, and for that, because there is one single Christian funk band, I think we should actually have the discussion. If only to openly embarrass them by bringing out the musical shootout and just basically gunning anything they could bring to the table down with either Atomic Dog or perhaps We Want the Funk.
What? You want the funk?
The name of the yeah. I want to discuss the funk genre.
We got the funk. I'm pretty sure
The song has been released on 3 different albums, and it has gone by "We Want the Funk" and "We Got the Funk." In it's gone by both names.
All right, well, we can discuss that one if you want, but I don't know anything about what Brothers in Christ.
Yeah. So
don't know
more it'd
anything.
probably a discussion a little bit about George Clinton and the P-Funks. So these two, again, is probably going to be a bit of a discussion. When it comes to pop punk, it's fucking Green Day, man.
No, we'll have discussion there. We'll have discussion.
Okay,
What?
okay. But I see you repping Me Without You on your T-shirt today. Though I really think MCR blows them clean out of the water.
I do not agree at all.
I know you don't, but they do.
We're gonna have to talk about that one because you're wrong, just objectively wrong.
No, I'm not. So okay, now we're looking at the metal genres. So classic metal. I brought out Dio. Do you honestly think Stryper holds a candle to Dio?
No.
You're thinking way too long and hard about that one.
But we do want to talk about Stryper.
Okay, fine. We'll talk about Stryper a little bit.
If I talk about Brothers in Christ, then
okay. I'll grant you that one. For metalcore, Killswitch Engage versus Under Oath. Under Oath. They put the slash to the O. And yes, I was enough of a stickler to, even though I couldn't match fonts for the band's names, I made sure it was all lowercase and I put the slash and the O for you.
I mean, I only know like one song of them that is worth anything. I don't really care.
You don't really care?
I've got 2 songs from them that I will sing along to, but I mean, the only thing I want to say about them is that they decided as a band to drop out of the Vans Warped Tour after Fat Mike from NoFX got them to drink a beer, and they thought that maybe being on the tour was not good for their faith. And I'm just like, dude, if Fat Mike, first of all, why are you even hanging out with him? You know he's a massive troll. And he's a Soros puppet, so there's that. And then
okay.
And then on top, yeah, if a Soros puppet beats you in your faith, then I think I'm willing to give up on you.
Okay, so then I guess we will knock out Under Oath and promote Killswitch Engage, which I'm just going to put Killswitch in there because I don't know of another band called Killswitch. So, and it just fits in the box better.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work. Okay, new metal. PAX 217 versus Slipknot.
I do want to talk about PAX 217, not because I think they're going to win, but because they make me smile.
Okay.
They're like the kid that shows up to show and tell with his pet rock. Like,
okay.
Oh, you tried.
Mm-hmm. All right, so death metal, Zao for the Christian side versus Amon Amarth.
We're definitely discussing that one. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to win it, but
no, because I will tell you now. I will tell you now the song that I will bring to the table if you really want to go to a song shootout between the two bands. Do you want to know what it is?
Listen to them and get exposure for them.
Say what?
I just want to hear the Rising End.
Okay, then we'll do that for you. We'll do that for you. But just know that what I'm bringing to the table for the song shootout against Zao is going to be Amon Amarth's Twilight of the Thunder God.
And when we do Rising End, I want a lyric video and I want you to stop and be like, whoa, and like pay attention to the lyrics, and I want to hear your thoughts like on them, and I'll do the same for whatever you want.
Okay, yeah, no. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, virtually with any death metal song, it has to be a lyric video.
Yeah,
like without a doubt, definitely got to be a lyric video for us to be able to actually gauge between the two.
All right. Well, we cleaned up quite a bit.
We did clean up a little bit. We didn't clean up anything in counterculture, like at all. Nothing. We did clean up a tiny bit over in metal, and we knocked out one area for for mainstream.
So I guess for next week, for all the fans watching this, if you feel like we got any of the bands just completely wrong in our analysis, if you want to flip any of them, let us know. And I think to make it fun, somebody needs to either assign Queen or Rush to one of us, and then if no one makes a decision by say Thursday,
I'm gonna declare Rush as mine.
You're gonna take Rush.
I will hands down take Rush because I love Queen. I love Queen, love their music, but I think a lot of Queen stuff was more pop commercial success, which, don't get me wrong, was still really good music, but I think overall musicianship wise, Rush has a more well-rounded band, whereas Queen, to me, primarily drew off of Freddie Mercury's vocals and James May's guitar playing. Brian May, sorry. James May is the guy from frickin' son of a bitch.
You know what? Since you said James May, I'll go ahead and take Queen so you don't butcher any of the rest of the members.
Right, yeah. Brian May. How did I... James May's that dude from Top Gear. That's who it was.
Yeah, that's right.
And it doesn't help. And it doesn't help that for a while James May had like the exact same freaking hairdo that Brian May did.
His older, like it kind of looks like his chunky cousin or something.
He does. And I knew and I don't know why I couldn't remember. I just knew it was like generic white guy first name.
But here's the thing, Brian May, he believes in finding answers from a higher calling.
Okay, then.
That's why he's a astronomer.
And I think the only reason we're even having a discussion with pop punk is because I picked Green Day. Because I'm willing to bet that if I'd have dropped, say, The Clash on there, we would not be having a discussion.
Other than maybe them not being pop punk, them being just punk in general, because their musical sound kind of
well, pop punk is pretty much defined as being punk music that achieves popular mainstream success. There's been a few different articles on it where they don't really denote any distinct musical differences between the two. It's just popular punk music. And if we wanted to talk about it, London Calling would absolutely be considered pop punk, I think.
Yeah. I just love that The Clash came out with one of the best disco songs ever.
Yeah, they did. I will grant you that one. But again, I didn't want this to be a complete blowout against you. So I deliberately chose a few lesser name artists and individuals, because like if I wanted to slaughter Kanye, I would have just put Eminem on there.
Kanye's the greatest artist of our generation.
No, he's not. Just because he says he is doesn't mean he is.
He said it himself.
Yeah, and he's an idiot.
He's
Like,
become way
it's like
worse.
I don't even care that Kanye is on the Trump train. I don't care about any of that. Kanye West is a moron. After he married Kim Kardashian, he lost his ever-loving mind.
No, it's the opposite. He had lost his mind before then. Last couple of years, he's been cleaning up, man.
Okay.
Yeah, once we'll talk about that on
Yeah.
the next we discuss it. But anyway, yeah, let us know. Give us your feedback. We want to know where we did one of the bands dirty, or if we
Yeah,
need to
and if
take
you
it-
right, or if you disagree with the decision, let us know. Also, I would like to see people voting in the comments down below on who they want to see go to the semifinals and finals. Go through, and I will post a link to the sheet in Google Drive. I will post a link to the sheet in the description below. That way, people can go and look at it and kind of make the decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and save it now and have it just be. All right. So I've got a shareable link now. And I'm just going to leave it as can view.
I got to show you something.
Okay. Hang on.
Do you see?
I'm actually posting that link right now. The cat is adorable. I see the cat. All right. But anyways, everybody, thank you for tuning in this week. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week when we continue this discussion about our secular versus Christian music shootout as our little, what I consider better version of March Madness 2020. So tune in next week. Thank you all for listening in and watching in today. And we hope to see you next time.
Later.